morning. My name is Jonathan Chandler. I'm an instructor here at the Virginia School of Traditional Arts. This morning we're going to continue our kiosk project. I took a few minutes and I have cut us some 3/4 inch square tubing. I cut it on 45s. This piece of tubing is just long enough to go into our top of our kiosk. This is going to be our platform that we're going to do our artwork on. So we'll weld this together, of course at 90 degrees, and make sure that this portion fits into our kiosk prior to doing any of the artwork. We're going to have some scroll work and some flowers and some butterflies and different things, and the top of this will be an arch, and so that's what we're going to go for. So stay around, we'll get that done. This is the framework for the top of the kiosk. This will hold our art pieces that will make up the art part of the kiosk. We have cut, this is 3/4 inch square tubing. It's hollow tubing, of course. And we've cut 90-degree corners, or 45-degree corners on each of the bottom corners. We've cut 45-degree corners on each bottom corner here, and welded that up all four sides. And then to make our arch, which is not quite a smooth arch, it's got bumps in it, but the way we did that is we cut every 4 inches down we cut through 3 walls and left the 4th wall, this top piece, we left that alone. And we did that every 4 inches, and then we bent it, and then we welded it back together. What you're doing is we cut that with the chop saw, and you just got to be careful and watch your chop saw so that you're not cutting this top. And what that does is that gives us a curve more or less. It's not perfectly arc, but it's more like a stop sign, but has 10 facets, so you don't really notice the facets as much. You could have cut more if you needed a steeper curve. You can cut every 2 inches. We've got our framework welded together more or less. We may have to do a little touch-up welding on a few little teeny spots that we missed. But with our framework for our kiosk, we're gonna start on our artwork. And what I've done is I've got a picture of a rose and a few petals. And we're going to put this in here, some soapstone, and I actually used an overhead projector, real old school way of doing this. But I got my rose, and then I made an overhead projector, traced it onto an overhead projector sheet, and projected it down here on the table, and have drawn it with the soapstones. I like the projector because I can blow it up or enlarge it or decrease it to make it fit where I want it to fit. What we're trying to do with this is we want it to weld to this framework at least 3 places. So right now we've got both of the bottom leaves and the top here. By the time we get done, we may put another small leaf, one up here maybe, one over here maybe. We'll work that out, but this is our primary design, and then we'll work from that. I have a few scrolls that we made yesterday that we may incorporate into this project in some manner, depending on what we like. But we could do something, something like this. Some kind of scroll work along with our rose to give us a few more points that's going to be welded. When we're doing when I do public art, unfortunately, we need to prepare for the public. And the public is hard on artwork sometimes. They want to get it, pull on it, prize on it, and you know, you just have all types that come to a public place. But with the rose and the 3 scrolls, we may do some more scrolls. We may do some more leaves. We'll play with it. Once I get the rose like I want it, we'll come back and we'll play with the other pieces. And what we're trying to do is get us welding points so that this is solid in here, that nobody can break it loose. But at least 3 points, and like I say, with the scrolls we'll probably get 5 or 6 points, and that'll be even better. So we're gonna show you how we're gonna do this. We're gonna use round bar for the rose and square bar for the petals, and I want to have a distinction between the two, so that it'll show a little bit better as much as we can. And I'm going to show you another old school trick here. When you want to know how long a curved piece is, we use a wire, and we basically curve this the same dimensions that the wire in the same dimension as the curved piece that we're going to try to make here best we can. And I'll just put a kink in it. And so that'll be our first piece. I'm going to start with this piece up here. Pretty much looks like a U or an N. I don't know which way you're looking from. But we're going to cut us a piece of round bar that's that long. Don't know the dimension, don't really matter. And we'll probably cut it slightly longer than that so that we have plenty to work with. But we're going to actually cut out each little piece, lay it in here as we cut them out and bend them. And then that way we'll just work our way through our pattern here. Starting to center, this is thicker than our line, so we're probably going to make it a little bigger than what it's showing here, so we're going to work our way out. Alright, we got our first few pieces here done. We've got our inside of our rose, we've got a little teeny piece here, and we've got this piece. This we may adjust a little bit more when it cools off. We'll may work on this to get this line up exactly. I think I got it close. I just got a bend right there. But that's the idea. We're just going to keep working through this systematically, make each little piece, try to follow our lines best we can. When we get all the rows done, we'll weld the rows together, clean it up, and then we'll start working on the leaves. We're going to switch over and use some square rod when we get to the square stock when we get to the leaves to change it up a little bit. Got a few more pieces made. I'm starting to weld them together. Some of them I'm working hot. If it needs a lot of work, I'll do it hot. Some of them I'm just bending cold. It doesn't need a whole lot. We'll just, not an issue, just bend it cold. Next ones I've got cut are this one and this one. It goes all the way around like that. So this one probably just stay cold with it because it's not kinked. This one may have to heat up to get it to do. Before I do that, I'm just going to tack these other pieces in place so they'll stay. Alright, we got our rose rows done. Well, not done, but tacked together. It needs cleaning up, of course, finish welding on it, but it's all the pieces made. So I'm adjusting to where it matches our pattern. Nice. Like that. We're going to use this smaller, we use 3/8 round on that, so we're going to use a 1/4 inch square on these leaves, and we'll do some of the leaves. For our kiosk, we've got our piece of art worked in here. Just put a couple little temporary boards on the side here with a nail gun. You can take those off real easy, and we've drilled holes into this, and we've got drilled pilot holes for our lag screws. So we're going to lag screw this to this part, but we want to be able to take this in and out so we can paint it. We've got one of our rafters, or I guess sills, top seal on, and we've notched it out here, and we've drilled in from the top and put lag bolts into this. We're going to have to trim off this top corner a little bit because our arch will meet this, and that's what we're going to screw into for our curved rafters. And so we're going to put the other one on here today, and we'll show you those steps that we're using for that. We set our depth on our circular saw on our last cut, so we haven't changed our depth, so it doesn't have to measure anything. We just got to not change our saw, and we're gonna stay off of these dark lines and leave the line. We can always cut a little more. It's hard to add the wood back. The main thing with this is we're going to go all the way across this board and get the center of our circular saw on that side. That way our depth is consistent. If you go a little bit, it'll cut on that side, but if you don't go all the way, your depth won't be consistent. Now we don't have to, what we're going to do is take a hammer. Doesn't matter what kind of hammer you got, really. These sideways. Up my board, so we're going going to switch over to our chisel. And we'll just pop these pieces out. Put them in the middle. Alright, that's our piece out. Clean that part up. Again, holding my chisel like this with the bevel down, so we're not going deeper. If anything, we're going to be too shallow. Better to take your time and do this slowly and get it right than be in a hurry. That's a pretty tight fit. Well, the spade bit, that's what this is called, and we're going to drill in our lag screws. We'll touch at this point, but if we drill in here 1/2 inch, we can get them a little deeper. So, and we don't want these sticking proud because we're going to have rafters on this. So that's why we're going to countersink them a little bit. I just want them to be similar lengths. It don't have to be perfect. And then we're going to drill a pilot hole. Smaller than the threads, making sure we're in the right place. And once we get that done, should be little holes on this now. We'll go a little deeper with this. This edge, once we get some of these other pieces going, we'll have to run this edge at an angle because they're going to come around like this, and we would like to screw it to that, and we want this to be, you can do a couple things. You can make what they call a bird's beak or crow's foot or whatever you want to call it. That's what a normal rafter would have, a little notch cut out, fits around this square corner. What I'm going to do is just run this corner and leave our round rafter as strong as it can be and just screw this in. There's no weight going to be on this. Nobody's ever going to be crawling up on top of this, we hope. So it shouldn't be an issue. Alright, what I've got here is a little template I'm going to use. I'm going to glue it to this little thin piece of plywood and cut it out with a bandsaw. And we're going to use this to draw us a little OG on the ends of our roof rafters, or roof, not really rafters, but the roof supports. So we're just going to use this little OG to draw that pattern. And all we're going to do, and this is all I did to get that pattern, was I made on my computer I can make the squares and the circles any sizes I want. So I made the square, or the rectangle here, about 3 1/2, 3 3/8, something like that. And then this circle, I think it was 2 1/2, and this one's 4. I have a 4-inch round sander, so that's why I chose 4. 2 1/2 was just made it look right. So we're just going to take this section here and cut it out. We're not going to cut the whole circle. Alright, I'm back. Just cut this out with the bandsaw, ripped it on the table saw so these sides are parallel. I left enough room when I ripped to add me a little cleat on the back so I can slide this right against our 4x4, and we can trace this and it'll be identical. The lines will be identical, at least to start with. And then we'll cut this out and sand it up, and that's why I used the 4-inch here. That makes that much easier if this is the right arc. You just lay it on there and do it. And then this is just any circle here would work. Alright, what I've done is took it at this radial arm saw and cut as close as I dared to the line. That gives me perfectly straight and perfectly vertical lines. And then all I'm going to do is take my handsaw. I've done most of it with the radial arm, and I'm just going to sneak up on those lines. Shouldn't take me much. Just make sure I'm getting up to them on both sides. I don't have anything that'll cut this. Got a bandsaw, but this is crazy big. Be trying to put on a bandsaw, and my little jigsaw's not going to cut this. I guess I don't feel skilled enough with a sawzall to do this. Some people might do it with that. I think this is going to be the safest for me to get to the line. We can just get to the line. It's on both sides. And this is just this up and cut this corner off. Got rid of the bulk of the material there, and we're just going to knock out these little pieces now, just like we did before. The bulk of it. Alright, that's what it looks like after we've sanded it. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. So all we got to do now is 3 more of those. Touch up any little bumpy spots. If you have one little bumpy spot there, we'll file that just a smidge. And we're going to trim off one edge of this, depending on which one it is, for the other piece to come in. But I think that's looking pretty good. I got created here for this process. This is just 2 pieces of particle board, basically. It's just scrap I had. And I glued and nailed them together on the bottom with some little strips, just so I had a big enough piece. But I laid our iron steel piece of artwork on here and drew its outline, and while it was still on here, I wanted my arch to be about 3.5 inches or thereabouts to mirror that arch. So I took a 2x4, and while it was laying here, and I drew the most of the arch, all the arch I could, by putting that 2x4 against it and tracing. And then I just kind of followed that line down this way as best I could to make it look like an arch. If you've got to make it something specific, which we didn't, we just want it to be similar to what we had. If you want to be specific, you got to remember, if you want it to be, 36 inches, once you get done, you need to make your arch probably 35 inches between the legs, between the ends of it, because when you take it out, it's gonna flex open. Next day, it's the next day, and we're gonna do our clamps. There is our arched roof panel. We'll clean up the glue, sand this up good, and get it attached.